So today we're going to tackle questions that matter, like where's the money, how can creators earn it, and how to keep it without selling out or burning out. So the first question I'm going to ask, I'd love for all of you to jump in. What does future-proofing mean to you when it comes to creators and monetization? Stephanie, you want to kick it off?
For sure. I think for me, there's two things. One, thinking about expanding outside of a traditional algorithm-only space. So like I know we all use lots of different platforms, but how are you taking the connection that you're building with your fans to the next level? So how are you connecting with them? How are you keeping them updated on your things that are coming up, et cetera? Because those are your truest fans, and what you want to do is make sure you're always showing up to those fans, because they will lose you sometimes in an algorithm. So make sure you're having a space that allows you to do that. And then number two is don't always feel like you have to be doing every single trend. So I think everyone feels like they have to be on the next trend, on the next trend, on the next trend to keep up with it, but you will burn out so fast if all you're doing is trend after trend after trend. So you really have to be doing something that you truly love, because it's going to future-proof you as an individual and a creator to continue to do that for the longest time possible.
Okay.
And I'm not saying don't do trends. I'm just saying don't only do trends.
Thank you. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, certainly. Well, first of all, it's Jake Webb, not Jack. So look at my mug if you're curious. But no, thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be on the stage and share it with Danielle and with Stephanie. And so to answer your question, I would say it kind of goes off of what you were saying. It's about being algorithmic proof. So it's about truly building community. And if you have a community that you've engaged with, that you've built, you're going to be platform proof and algorithmic proof, and that community is going to follow you. And that allows you to go to the second phase of your career, where you can diversify your revenue stream by building a plan and roadmap with that community and giving them a value, so there's a mutual exchange. So I would say building community.
Okay. What about you, Danielle? What's future-proofing?
Yes, definitely agree with all of the above. Community is extremely important to us at Notion, but I think on top of that, when it comes to creators specifically, really figuring out how you provide value to your audience and really what your impact is on them, and honing in on that, I think, is really important. As we all know, their attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, which again lends to your point about trends. But I do think the success of a creator really depends and is pivotal, or is marked on the value that they provide their audience and how well they're able to grow upon that.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So Jake, I want to ask you another question, because you're a manager, you run your own management company. What's one mistake that you often see creators make when they're first trying to monetize? And what's your go-to advice instead?
Certainly. So a lot of times when I see new creators coming into the space, they have this scarcity mindset where they feel that there's not enough opportunity for them, or that they're missing out on opportunities. And so this usually leads them to a non-exclusive relationship with anyone, because they feel like they want to have a wide network with everybody who's thinking about them and trying to get them opportunities. And the issue with that is then you aren't really building with a team. You're getting lost in the weeds of your own career, and you have all these people in the market going and pitching your name, but they might actually be doing you a disservice, because you might be undercutting your value in the marketplace, because it's a really small marketplace, and these brands are going to be hearing from multiple people that are going to be seeing your name and saying, oh, they're not exclusive to anyone. I can probably leverage these two people against each other and get a cheaper value for this one creator. So that's the first piece of it. And the second piece is, when you don't have someone building with you at the first part of your career, this is where you don't have the vision of how to roadmap and how to build strategy. And when you're younger to the industry and you're new, mentorship and networking are two of the most important things. And when you bring a team on, it's a percentage-based business. So they're growing with your business, and your business will never be cheaper. So I would bring in well-vetted people. You can't just bring on anybody, but you need well-vetted managers or team members to come onto your team, specifically for the mentorship. I think that's almost the best piece of it, because even if you eventually build your brand and decide to just bring everything in-house to your own ecosystem, that journey that got you there and the experience that you're going to see from other people is going to help you on that journey to learn for yourself. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yes, I think so. And that mindset, getting that mindset right, is really difficult. And I know for me too, it's also getting organized, right? For when you are starting off on your own.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Organization is key. Like
Yeah.
learning those processes early in your career is going to help you to scale.
Yeah, and I think that's where Notion kind of comes into play. So Danielle, I'm curious, what strategies or systems do you see helping creators move from a side hustle to a sustainable career?
Yeah, I think the word sustainable is really important there, especially when it comes to creators who have really massive growth and a really rapid timeline. I speak to so many creators and they always say, I wish I had these foundational elements of my processes or my business earlier on, and I could have maybe taken on more work or been able to focus more on other areas of my career, like the actual creativity or the networking or the relationship building. But it can be very easy to get caught up in all of the things that you have to juggle as a creator, whether it's your budgets, partnerships, things like that. I always say too, when it comes to these systems, it's very easy to compare yourself to what other people are doing and see there are hundreds of ways that anyone can manage their business or their work. But I really think it's important to think about yourself, the way that you do your work, and build workflows based on that. I think sometimes actually anyone can get caught up in these really intense workflows that have maybe too much detail than they actually need. So sometimes simplicity is better, and actually think about, okay, what is working for me? What are the areas that I'm actually coming to the most in my workflows, and hone in on that, perfect those before moving on and trying to kind of figure out everything at once. Productivity is, it's so funny. I think it's something we all strive for, but you can actually be way less productive if you're working overtime to achieve that.
Yeah, okay. So we have making sure we're in the right mindset, getting organized, simple workflow for productivity. Now, Stephanie, you've helped creators scale long before they've ever even gone viral. So what advice would you give to someone just starting out and building that long-term financial success?
Yeah. Well, number one, I know that not all creators are looking to necessarily make a bunch of money, right? Like lots of people are looking to spread awareness or do whatever. So take with a caveat, right? If you are looking to lean into to make money ultimately, I think it's really important to start early, but start small. You don't need to go in doing everything across every platform and brand deal and product and all of the things. I think you can be what is my passion? What is my mission? And how do my monetization streams and diversification of money ladder up to that? So it might be okay, maybe I just want to turn on a creator fund, or maybe I want to do affiliate marketing first, or maybe I want to do brand deals, or maybe I am really bullish on a specific product that I really want to make and I've always wanted to do it, and now I've been able to build a small audience, and I want to start to sort of work with my audience to build that thing. So I'm building something from the ground up that they want. So I always say, don't be scared to start, even if you have 10,000 followers or 5,000 followers or 50,000 followers. I think it's very important that you bet on yourself. And for an example, I think there are people with 10,000 followers or 50,000 followers that are making more money than people with millions of followers because they've been able to find the right monetization systems for them that really work and work for their audience. So it could be that they're a great converter, so their brand deals are going up over time, or their affiliate, they're only making money from affiliate marketing because everyone in their audience trusts all of their recommendations, and they really want to, buy the skirt that they're wearing today in their outfit for the day or whatever. So I think it's very important to know your audience and know the monetization things that are going to work for you and that audience.
Okay. So I love that you guys are all kind of saying the same thing about making sure you're in the right mindset and that you can really keep true to yourself while still making a career out of this. I am curious to hear more about what other tools you recommend for growth. So I'd love to hear from all of you, besides using tools like Notion or working with platforms like Patreon or getting involved with a manager. What are some other, how can we use that to strategically monetize if we want to get into more serious content creation? Jake, you want to start off?
Yes, absolutely. So what I would say is, going off of what Danielle was talking about earlier, I think productivity is so important because as a creator, you have to have the creative bandwidth to be able to create. And make sure that the product you're creating is offering either entertainment, education, or inspiring your audience with every post you're doing, and you're doing it with intention. And so the space is so deep, and it's very evolved to build a whole ecosystem around your personal brand. So having the tools you need to scale your productivity so you have the bandwidth and the energy to create is so important. That's why tools like Notion are great. I think the other point is, and from the Slash perspective, as a manager, what we do is we help our clients to identify how do you use tools for analytical analysis, or how do you go into your analytics and determine what you're seeing so that you can create a more informed growth strategy, or help to create a feedback loop on your content. What's performing, what's not performing, why is it not performing? So the analytics are so important, and that's just in the platform. I actually don't even use like third-party analytics tools. I use the ones that are organic to the app because I want the real data that's not messed up from some API. But the tools, the analytics, and then I think the more specific thing from a roadmap, it's a matter of understanding from the situational perspective, what is your brand and where should you be? Where is your audience and where do you speak to them? And that's where we as managers will go and we'll find partners like Patreon and be like, you should be on Patreon. This is where it makes sense for your audience. You have a value exchange to give. So for us, it's about the road mapping if we're speaking from a management perspective.
Okay. Danielle, what about you?
Yeah, of course, I work at Notion. So I think Notion is an amazing tool. It's also very customizable, so you can really use it for any facet of your life or your work. And I think one of the best things about it is that it works exactly how your brain works. I had mentioned previously that there's hundreds of examples on the ways that people manage their work as a creator, and they do that through templates, and I think that it's a really cool offering for a lot of creators. That is a way to diversify your content stream or your income stream, is by offering digital goods or resources to your audience as well. You can create templates on Notion, sell them through Notion, or on platforms like Gumroad, which are very popular for these digital goods. And I think, especially if you are a creator and you are creating something, that means you also have something to give and provide to your audience. And I'm sure other people would be thrilled to see how you're doing things. So yeah, I think it's a really cool way to have passive income as well, but also be able to provide an actual tangible resource for your audience that's outside of just entertainment content.
Okay. What about you, Stephanie?
So on Patreon, no, we are building like a media and community platform. So like similar to what I said before, it allows you to like slot in different things. I think traditionally, and this is now a misconception, Patreon has been seen as a crowdfunding platform or a membership platform, but over the last 2 years, we have developed so many products that allow different creators to use it in very different ways. So yes, we still have traditional tiers of membership, but then you can offer your fans different things in those tiers that you are providing them monthly. However, we know not everyone is going to be able to potentially output that amount of media. So we also built things like a free tier, so you can still bring your community into that space and be able to connect with them, drop exclusive content, maybe drop like other things in there. And then we developed a one-time purchase, so you could drop like a one-time digital thing. So say you have an amazing podcast episode that you want to get out to your members first, you could drop that and you could charge $5 or $10 or $2 for that specific piece of media that they really want to see. So you're able to sell that digital product through Patreon. And then the other piece that we have, there's lots more, but I'm going to keep it like simple. The other piece we have is chats. So we developed almost like you can do up to 7 different conversations that you set the name of, and then people can join depending on what tier they're in, or like if it's free, like everyone can join those. And it allows you to connect with those individuals, but also people to connect with each other. So we did a lot of research and we found that there are 3 there are 3 types of fans. The fans who love the media, so the videos and podcasts, etc., that you put out. They might see that in an algorithm. Oh my God, I love that. It's a really interesting take on something. There are fans that love the creator and the media together. So they have then developed some sort of relationship with that individual creator. And then this is where core fans and real true fans come in. They love the media, the creator, and the other fans of the creator. So the connection between those other fans is part of their fandom. So that stuff also happens with inside of that chat function, even with inside of comments on individual posts, and people start to have conversations. Like I've seen someone will be doing a tour in Atlanta, and all the people from Atlanta will be like, oh, we should like go for dinner before, like let's swap Instagrams, and like they will all meet up. So their shared fandom of the individual creator also keeps that creator's fandom going, and it almost spreads. They're like your ambassadors, right? Like they're the ambassador of you, because they're telling your friends, they're bringing their friends to the show. And I think like the way that we're building a Patreon is that you have that world that's creatively yours that you're bringing other people into.
Okay. I am curious, kind of circling back to that and a monetization model off of it. Is there anything that's really working right now that you see in terms of community, that membership, or that exclusive content?
Yeah, I think it's all of those. So like the exclusive content that isn't existing anywhere else works very well. So people want that individual connection with you, but they also want something that someone else isn't getting, right? The scarcity thing is very interesting. We see a lot of people have huge success with like announcing their baby gender on Patreon, or like dropping the episode that everyone's always wanted, or there's lots of things, like the things that they aren't getting everywhere else, or like extended podcast episode, right? Like I get 40 minutes of your podcast, and I love it so much I want 20 minutes more. So I'm gonna join the Patreon to get that 20 minutes more. And then we now have features like live video and live audio that allow a little bit more connection with individuals. So we're seeing people use it in all different ways, and we're seeing people like build their business how they want to build it in their own way, which is really, really nice.
Awesome. So kind of listening to that community as well and
100%.
figuring out what that is. Now, I know you said earlier that maybe not everyone's going to want to monetize their content, or maybe not everything should. And Jake, I'm kind of curious from that management standpoint, right? If you're coming into it, how do you help creators decide what's truly worth monetizing while protecting their brand identity?
So this is, situational, where depends on the client, the genre, ultimately like what's the brand they're building, who's the audience they're speaking to. But it also is going to come down to taste here and there as well. I mean, obviously, like, don't monetize an apology video if you came through a scandal or something. There's just basic, intuitional things. But I would say, honestly, I don't. What's the question again?
If a creator comes to you and they're like, I'm not sure if I should monetize something, I feel like maybe it's not in alignment, do you ever help them? Have you ever helped a creator navigate that? Or
well, I mean, the reality is like for management, you're trying to monetize their whole brand, but I think the reality is it comes down to diversifying what you're monetizing and knowing that you have to give some stuff for free in order to market yourself. So you want to hook your audience, and you want to find out how are you connecting with them in the free space, and how are you offering some sort of value so there's some sort of exchange of goods, and then what's the roadmap you're building with them to monetize. And this is where we're talking about diversifying, because some talent truly are brand businesses that are kind of dependent on brand deals, but from a management perspective, you truly are trying to build out a career that can take them beyond that reactive and just kind of like inflow dependent strategy. So this is where we talk about proactive tentpole moments. So if you've roadmapped a career, you're trying to figure out where are you building to, where are you trying to head towards. From there, you'll find these tentpole moments that you can work up to. And these are gonna be the moments like, oh, this is a very special like episode of this podcast, or hey, this is like a huge like project that we did that has some IRL experience, that has some cool like fan connection. And this is where you're providing a real value because the audience is going on this journey with you, and they're willing to pay for that, or at least to like, be incentivized to join in on that somehow. So I would say, again, freemium model, you have to hook your audience. You want to take them on a journey, but then you're going to want to leave them wanting more, and that's where you decide what you monetize. But again, use your taste and make sure it's tasteful and you're like offering something of value, and don't monetize or exploit too many personal moments, and protect your personal privacy as well. Okay.
Now, so I love that idea of like the freemium where, okay, certain percent accessible to everyone, and then like Stephanie was saying, build up a little bit.
Yeah.
That sounds like diversifying in a safe way, but sometimes diversification can overwhelm fast. So Danielle, I'm curious, like, how should creators prioritize income streams across platforms?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to the value that we've been speaking about, really listening to your audience and thinking, okay, where am I seeing the success? And again, success is different to every creator, but where are they seeing their content really resonate with their audience? And I would definitely lean into that. Of course, I think there's a balance when it comes to a creator's business, and like you mentioned, all creators, I think, are businesses at the end of the day. It's managing the passion, but also managing the audience expectations and making sure that you're giving them what they want as well. But I really do think, if you're passionate about it, it will come through very much in your content. And I think if you're providing value that your audience really does want, you will see the income come through based on that. And I do think, again, prioritizing your time is really important. There's so many things that could go into this. I'm sure it's not perfect for everyone. But I do think really following where your passions are and also where your audience is giving you the most positive feedback, I think is probably the best place to start.
Yeah, and I'd love to follow up on that because sometimes feedback equals data.
Yeah.
So what role do analytics play in kind of helping creators make those business decisions? And are there any Notion hacks that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I think, we are I run a top of funnel program, so I really live in the awareness metrics. I think, of course, impressions are really important. Everyone says it's the most popular tagline, followers don't matter anymore. I actually do really believe that. So from the brand perspective, I'm looking a lot at impressions, views, engagements as well. If you are providing, again, links to your digital content, digital goods, communities, whatever that is, web traffic is also really important. In terms of Notion hacks, I think my favorite thing, I'm not a creator myself, but I work with a lot of creators, and one of the things I always recommend is using our AI features to use Notion AI within your workspace to actually help you make informed decisions about your future scripts or your future content. You can, have all of your scripts in Notion, make comments and put in all the data from your platforms and say, this is what performed really well, and then have our AI build you new scripts based off of that. And then also you can upload briefs, brand guidelines, things like that from your partners or your own brand guidelines, and it can actually pull from that. I know AI is a hot topic, but I do think that there are ways that AI is not stifling your own creativity. It can just help you enhance what you're already doing and actually just pull only from information that you give it yourself. So it can kind of become an extension of your own brain.
Okay.
And one thing to add to that, because I think it's important, is from a content strategy standpoint, the analytics are so important because you can have that feedback loop of, again, figuring out were these new followers or non-followers, and did they convert or did they not convert? How do they engage? But also leveraging other tools as a new creator in your building to own your data. So that's why for younger creators, I always tell them to go onto affiliate marketing programs as long as you get access to the data for how you're converting or what products you're converting, because then you're going to start owning, and you'll see if you just use these links when you're organically promoting these products. Oh, I thought I was a beauty girl, but I'm only selling fashion products. Maybe I should, switch my content strategy a little bit to be more lifestyle and obviously give my fans what they're buying. And also, if you're trying to get brand deals, it's very, very valuable data because you can speak to your conversion ability. Or if you can't convert, you can figure out how to, hide that data so you can still get the deal and still sell yourself from hey, my value is my content and the usage behind it. So you can use the data to more strategically figure out how you're going to negotiate your work, but also, again, use that as leverage in your negotiations.
Okay. All right, I do have a couple more questions that I'd love for all of you to answer. And the first one, partnerships can sometimes be tricky, and you've already talked a little bit about how you help creators navigate them. But what advice do you give creators when they're negotiating these brand deals while preserving that authenticity? Stephanie, do you want to start?
Yes, I can start. I feel like Jake is the person. I will start. I'll let him say the actual things. So for me, when I'm looking at partnerships with creators, I always go to them first. I take at Patreon generally, but generally in my own approach, I'm taking a very creator first approach to everything that I'm doing. So my first question is not necessarily hey, will you do this specific thing for us, and how much would that be? Mm-hmm. It's usually, hey, what are you doing over the next 6 months? How can I bring in a partnership that would potentially help you do that specific thing? And then I'll dig in with those creators. So I might dig into like, who have you always wanted to work with? Or like, I have a big list of questions that I would go down with a creator to like, because sometimes you ask, what would you like to do? And a creator will be like, oh, I've never been asked that before. I don't really know, like from a brand or from a platform. So you have to kind of like slowly unpick from them, like their trauma from other brand deals to get to like, what is it that you actually want to do, and how can we like partner on that and then co-market it? Obviously, I'm in a very different space than like a brand, so I have the luxury of being able to do that with some of our creators on platforms. So I always want to approach it that way if I can.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on this. I think first, as a creator, you want to understand the power of no. This goes back to the first conversation we were speaking about with the scarcity mindset. You don't want to say yes to everything, because as a new creator, this is where you're building your trust and figuring out who your brand is. So kind of going off of what you were saying, I audit all my clients when we first onboard them, and we find out what brands are they using in their everyday life, what brands do they want to be working with, what brands have they worked with, so I can find out who's already seen them, who hasn't seen them, and who do we need to start working to get in front of. So that's one thing, is making sure you're being very specific about the content you're creating and you're trying to get to the brands you want to work with. So don't lose trust in your audience to take the Shein bag just because they had the money, but you were trying to get into luxury fashion or something. And then when it comes to contracts, I think that's the most important thing when it comes to a creator, because some of these contracts are so predatory, and as a creator, you won't have the experience until you've already signed these contracts and learn the hard way that you've given up your rights, you've given up your usages, or you've agreed to very, very unfair payment terms. And right now, specifically, the payment terms are a pain point for a lot of creators, because we're working with major brands and major agencies. You're having all these middle players, and the payment terms are between 60 to 90, which I think is a little bit ridiculous in today's day and age. And then the brands are still being delinquent 30, 60, 90 days after the payment due dates. So as a creator, you could be waiting 3, 6, 12 months after a job to get paid. And this is where, as a management company, we try to protect our clients, and also it helps to have a third party to go in and be like, okay, I have an accounting department and a CFO who's like calling these like owners of this company and asking why they have cash flow issues, because you were just acquired for $150 million. Why can't you pay our clients? So having that helps, but also I guess like if you don't have management, really pay attention to your usage terms. Don't be afraid to push for delinquency fees so they're incentivized to pay you on time. And when it comes to content creation, if you're creating the content, you're the owner, you're licensing it to the brand. So you should always, always, always make sure that you own your content, and it's never a work for hire unless you're going on set and they're producing it for you. But every now and then you'll find that language in there and remove it, you know?
I like that, kind of bullying them with numbers and contracts.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Okay, what about you, Danielle? You have any?
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with all of the above. I always tell creators early in their career, the number one thing you should be asking for is transparency, especially if you're working with a management for the first time. And Jake, I'm not saying you do this, but it's crazy the number of creators I will talk to and say they've never read a contract before. They just they're told to do something, they just sign up for it, and they're like, yeah, that sounds great. But I really do think it is a very important business practice for anyone, any type of creative, to get in the habit of reading your own contracts and know what you're signing yourself up for. And then also in the same lens of transparency is asking for a direct line to the brand partner themselves. Ask to get on a call, ask to have that FaceTime, because you never know how your management might change. You might want to self-manage one day, but also at the end of the day, the relationship is one of the most important things that you can get out of a partnership, so making sure that you have that time. And then on the flip side, from the brand side, it's also important to be asking for the same thing. I think a lot of things can get muddled when there is a middleman, and being able to speak to a creator directly has so much value. And to Stephanie's point, I am really in the habit of asking creators, like, what are you working on in the next 3 months that can fit, we can fit Notion into? And we're lucky that brands like Notion and Patreon kind of can be a little bit more flexible when it comes to the creator partnerships that they work on. But I really do think that those are the partnerships that will be standing out over the next, however many years that we are in this business. Because again, ads are so recognizable these days, and I really do think the more that brands can ask for that FaceTime with the creator, get to know what they're working on, what their passions are, the storytelling will only be that much better.
And actually, on that point, I agree with you on the transparency. And so for us, with our clients, we have an email that they put in their bios, but they receive every email. And the thing that I tell them is that way you'll always have transparency and control. We can be talking in real time as you see things coming through. But should they ever leave, which never happens, right? They'll always have the historical contacts of anyone who's ever reached out to them so that they can continue to move their business forward. I try and have all my clients have direct lines with all the brands so the brands feel like they have a relationship with them, but then I'm here to protect the talent so that the minute the conversation gets into logistics or contracts, they can punt it to me, they can play the dumb blonde if they want to, and they can still be the CEO of their career and leverage and network those relationships. One more thing on that too is with brand deals nowadays, there's a lot of the mentality of, oh, I don't want to promote this brand unless they're paying me. But and this is where we go back to being intentional about what brands you want to target, what content you're creating, what's the audience you're targeting, and are you using tools like affiliate marketing right now to at least see if your audience is buying that and you can convert and you can use that data to pitch the brand, because these brands all have social monitoring tools like Creator IQ, and that's how they're determining when these creators are pitching me, have they ever mentioned us? Have they ever engaged? Have they ever done anything? And if you've liked the brand and you've received PR, but you never tagged them or anything, those social monitoring tools aren't picking it up, and you're potentially not getting on the brand's radar. So be intentional, focus on the brands you want to get to, maybe use affiliate marketing as a way to get there, and then it becomes like a pretty much self-fulfilling prophecy of starting to work with the people you originally intended to, instead of muddying your brand and going with wherever the wind takes you, and then you kind of lose sight of why you originally got into this space.
Okay. And kind of as a follow-up, but also because this is a B&H event, so I feel like we have some gearheads in the audience, maybe people trying to use some fancy cameras. When it comes to working with brands or brand deals, does the quality of content ever play a part into that? Do you ever advise your creators on any part of those technical sides for anyone who want to answer?
I think, I think it really just depends on the type of content you're already creating. I think, there are so many successful creators that have only ever shot on their phone and front-facing camera, and that I've gotten brand partnership content where people are in a robe in their bed and it performs great. Like, I do really think at the end of the day, it depends on what you have built your audience on. Of course, if I was contracting with a creator who is used to making really high quality content and I got something on a phone, I probably would be a little upset, of course. But again, I think I really think it's up to the creator at the end of the day. Like, your audience the best, and it's also your art medium. So I think it's kind of up to the creator.
Okay, thank you. I think that's sound advice. Last question before we go into an audience Q&A. Jake, you talked about creators should think like a CEO, and so I'm curious. You obviously think that. Do you guys think creators should think like CEOs, like founders? And if so, what does that mindset look like in practice? Jake.
Yeah, so I literally tell this to all my clients. I'm like, you're the CEO of your brand, and we're essentially your COO, your operators, to help you execute your vision. But the reason why I do that is so that there's an accountability on them to pay attention, to know what's happening in their brand, and to care. And so the talent that really get to the next level and get to that level, they care, they're aware of every single piece of everything that's happening, and they're using their team to work for them, but they're not just giving the team everything to do everything on their behalf. You have to be in charge of your career, and as a CEO, you are aware of every piece of that business. So the finances, the logistics, the back office, the front-facing creative part. I really believe that that's a very important mentality.
Okay. Steph, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I used to always give creators the advice that they would ask, and I would be like, you should treat your content like your 9 to 5. But I actually think under the lens of it's your business. It's a business for you, and I know traditionally 9 to 5, I know we don't work like that anymore always, but it's yours and you own it, and you should be driving that vision forward. I hear a lot of, I'm sure you hear this too, but I hear a lot of creators be like, oh, my manager's like my boss, my mom. I'm like, no, you're their boss. Like, you're paying them to do the thing.
Well, we can get fired.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I'm like, no, this is your business and your livelihood and how you're being portrayed out in the world. So you need to spend some time to really think about what that vision is and then how you want to build that business around you. whatever that business is and however you want to do it. I think it's really important that you were like, it's centered around me and what I'm doing.
Danielle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think you both covered it perfectly. I think, again, all creators are running a business at the end of the day, and no matter, every creator's business is a different size, and yeah, I think you should be involved from the very mundane things like admin tasks, knowing your budget line items, to reading the contracts, all the way to the more fun stuff like the content creation and the direction, things like that. So no, I do think that it will be a huge trend. Well, it should be a trend already, where brands and other businesses are recognizing creators that they are acting like businesses and they should treat them like them.
Okay.
I think just to add one thing, sorry,
No,
I know
you're
we want to go to Q&A. I think it's really important to, like, once you get to a certain point, right, you're a founder and you're a solo founder, probably when you first start, when you first start doing your business, and then you start, to your point, to bring people in. I think you have to know when to delegate and to who to delegate. I think lots of people like keep it on their plate for way too long, and then they burn out and they're like, oh God, I can't do this anymore. So like find your people that can do the things that do not bring you joy, who do them very well, and like have those people do those things for you. Make sure you find the right people to do them, but I think it's important that you also find the right people to do them.
Yeah, no, it's so important. It is so crazy how many clients get so behind, or like they are not reaching their true potential or capacity because they don't have the bandwidth, because they're scared to let go. And it is a leap of faith, but you have to do it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this panel. If you guys do have questions, yeah, give it up. So we have our stage runner, Maz, is in the center aisle. If you guys have questions, raise your hand. He's gonna have a mic. I see a couple of hands over here. And we'll see, we have a few minutes. Oh, okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Jillian. Thank you for having us. My account is, my dog is the influencer, right?
Love
So he's the face of all the content, and I've really never put myself in the content, but I've been starting to think a lot more about how to grow my brand and create sustainability and longevity beyond my dog. So I've been beginning to sprinkle myself into that a bit, but I'd be curious your thoughts on how to go about that, if that's the right move. And I don't want to startle my audience and create something they're not used to seeing or expecting to see, so finding that balance. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'll take this and
Yeah.
because we get this all the time where we have a lot of clients that want to shift their content strategies or evolve. And I think you'll find that as long as you do it strategically and you do it step by step and you're not just changing everything overnight and it's not like a complete rebrand, the audience is going to buy in and go with you. What I tell clients is like, keep doing what's working while you're sprinkling in some of the new stuff. And again, like letting the content and the analytics determine for the new stuff what's working, what's not working. But I think for you, in your case, it's really identifying what's the voice. Like, what's my pet's voice? How do I fit in that? How can we potentially have like personality together? So then you can identify what's the content we should create, what's the story, and then I think from a pet perspective, like how can I make sure I can like give him a personality and a voice so I can get my messaging points in there for these brand deals that'll probably come through. But it sounds like you're already doing it, so.
I think there's like an 80-20 rule there, right? Like 80% of your content should probably stick like what people are used to, what they really like, what your dog is doing, and then 20% of like, to your point, like starting to sprinkle in those pieces where it's like, I would love like a day in the life of my mom from your dog's perspective, right? Like that's cute, still aligned with the
So cute,
like
love
dog
that.
stuff, but then you can start to like pull that stuff in, and then like just cut out the things that don't work in that 20%. Like over time, that's totally fine to just be like, okay, that one didn't work, let's try again. I also would say that trying something, people get scared, trying it once and then going, oh, no, it doesn't work. Try it a couple of times. Like sometimes it takes a little time to get there. You just need like a few tweaks to that specific format. And once you hit some formats, it'll be much easier for you to like integrate yourself, I think.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I think that's the biggest thing is knowing like some of the new stuff may not perform, but it is important to keep on retrying it. And again, looking at the analytics, you're like, why didn't that perform? Let's like think about that and see if there's a new way to try it. But if you are switching up new content, it's always going to take on average like 3 months, 90 days for an algorithm to start to kind of like understand it and connect it and know how to push it to an audience. So keep on being consistent with that the same way you built your original audience with the first wave of content.
Yeah, you have to be okay with it, like drop it. I know a creator that was doing like eating spicy food content and it was like millions of views and he was like, but I want to do fashion. So he started to sprinkle in fashion and his fashion was still, it was like hundreds of thousands of views versus millions. And for him, he was like very clear that was like, okay, it's fine that it's less because it's really what I want to do long term and it's what I want to stick with. So don't be scared off if it's like lower.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Yes, I think we have one in the front, and then we'll come to this side of the room. We'll have time for a couple more.
Thank you all. My name is Axel Reyes. My question is, how do you see AI impacting the creator economy, and how do you see AI impacting your roles in your current jobs?
Okay.
This is a hot question. Again, I think I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of discourse around, AI impacting creativity with creators, but I actually think that a lot of creators, again, it goes back to the bandwidth thing, AI can actually save you so much time and not actually impact your creative vision or the work that you're doing. I think it can make a lot of difference. Like there's a lot of tools out there that just get rid of like the white space in your content or the pauses, and like that can save you so much time in just the editing. Again, when it comes back to script writing, like AI can take a lot of tools or make a lot of your workflows a lot easier. So I think while a lot of creators who are trying to build more sustainable careers take on more work or grow their platforms, AI can really help with these bandwidth issues and make your work a lot more efficient. And I think people see AI as a replacement, but I think actually it does replace a lot of things, but more in like the productivity space to make you work more efficiently and get more work done. From my end, I think AI is kind of everywhere. I work at a company that is moving towards being AI first. So I do think it's in a lot of my day-to-day, but again, it's not actually impacting a lot of the human elements that I have in my job. It's really more so the admin tasks and getting documents written and done and edited, briefs written, things like that. So yeah, there's a million ways. I could talk about this for a long time, but yeah, TLDR.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of dystopian thinking about, oh, it's going to replace all the content and creators, and that doesn't seem realistic in my opinion, but we're super bullish on the AI tools for productivity. I think it goes back to, hey, as a creator, you need to have the energy and the bandwidth to create, and these tools are there to do that. And there's more and more so, from an editing perspective, a lot of tools that make that process easier, which is always, for some creators, the not fun part. Mm-hmm. Not all, but for some.
Plus one to making it everything easier and but I do think, I have to say, like artists are artists, content creators are content creators, like musicians are musicians. They should, if their work is being used to feed an AI model, like they should know that that is happening and they should be consenting that that is happening. So I think like art is very special and art should be respected in that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of litigation going on right now.
Exactly.
That'll inform what's happening. So we'll see how that all turns out.
So it'll all become clearer about how we can use it and
Yeah.
everything else. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the AI companies are like licensing now and paying for that because of all this. So it is a fascinating thing. And I think the unfortunate reality is like it's happening. And so we have to just be aware of that. But I have so far not found anything from an AI perspective that creates content that is replaceable to what creators create.
I agree, and I think we have a panel either today or tomorrow with a couple creators who are really great at visual effects, graphic, design and everything, and they use AI sparingly to enhance their workflow and their productivity on the creative side too. And so I think if you are interested in some of that, definitely check out the one with Daphne Lee and Metronade. Okay, any more questions? I think we have time for 2 more. Maz is coming, hold on. All right, he's gonna pass the mic down. Just make sure you return it to him when you're done. Great.
Hi, my name is Terry. You had mentioned that there's some platforms that are predatory, and I was wondering if you run into specifics as to which ones we should look out for.
I would say not necessarily platforms, but it's more third-party partners when you're working with brands or agencies. you have to be super aware of certain contractual terms, and this is where it comes down to content creation of who has like approval rights. And if you have a contract but you haven't seen the brand brief yet, for example, you don't necessarily know what you're agreeing to. So that's where in the contract you would want to make sure there's a bunch of mutual approvals from a creative standpoint, so the brand doesn't feel like they have a lot of rights that they shouldn't otherwise have. Same thing with payment terms. Again, it can be very predatory when it's net 60, net 90, and then brands are still paying late. So just to be aware of that. But I mean, I always push for net 14, net 30, half up front, half at the end. And then again, the content ownership. I think like looking for content ownership as, hey, I own the content, I'm licensing it to the brand. Those three things are super important. Any of the creator marketplaces you're working on, or just if you're having a brand reach out to you to work for you.
Okay. And any more? I think there's a couple more questions over. Yeah, Maz got it.
Hi, my name is Shema, and I was just thinking, why did the three of you choose content creation as your career? Thank you.
Ooh, I like it.
I started my career in public relations, and I thought that was going to be, like I was going to be a publicist for my entire life. And I really liked that line of work because I loved storytelling. I love storytelling so much. And I think that that's kind of the creative drive that I have in this career, but I also like that there's a strategic element to it. I also love that I get to meet so many people. I think it's really amazing to meet so many inspiring artistic people. I have tried doing organic social and being the content creator myself, and that I realized is not a path for me. I'm much better at telling people or encouraging people what type of content to create. So that is why I landed where I am.
And for me, I would say that I came into this intentionally to get into Hollywood, and I realized that content creation and content creators are the future of Hollywood, and so we're excited to keep on shepherding that future forward.
I love working with creatives and being like a small part of their journey to help them monetize or reach their goals through whatever they're doing. And that's why I've been in the world for like 15 years, real old. That's why I stay. I love the people, I love the creatives. So keep doing what you're doing so I can keep doing what I'm doing.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think we are going to wrap up this session. Can you guys give them a hand one more time?